everybody, this is Rose of Sharon, and I'm back again with another anime review. There was a little bit of a glare on the DVD cover. This is Devil's a Part-Timer, or The Devil is a Part-Timer. It's only 13 episodes, and you have all the main characters on the front and the back. Of course, I can't really show you the DVDs inside, but the artwork's actually quite beautiful. And I love all the characters, and it takes on the preconceived notion, of good versus evil, what constitutes, what constitutes good and evil, or what we understand the makeup thereof. And such a thing, I think, is really intriguing, and psychologically we're wired, I think, with a certain understanding of morals and ethics once the time we reach the age of reason, or so we understand it to be as such. But it's interesting how The Devil's Part-Timer actually cackles that and turns it on its ear, basically. And I absolutely loved it. It was your basic harem anime, and it took upon this very fantastical setting of Ente Isla. And we begin in Ente Isla, and they have their own language, sort of like Lord of the Rings, and all that. It really reflected that kind of a world that was very reminiscent of that, as well as Game of Thrones, just how the opening was laid out. And there is gore, and it's not like Blood the Last Vampire gore or other series that I've seen that entail a lot of violence. There's violence involved, but it's nothing compared to other animes that I've seen that are very violent. It's very enjoyable. It's ranking up there as one of my favorite harem animes, but my favorite of all time is God Save Our King, because it's absolutely hysterical. But this one, you can tell that the VAs had a blast recording, because a lot of the lines are Gaijinized, as I would call it. It's more Western humor, which I'm certain that the directors of Funimation thought, well, we could make it more accessible to a Western audience this way. And they did that with Hetalia, which I absolutely loved. I've seen both versions of Hetalia, and both are equally hilarious. Though I prefer the dub over the sub, don't flame me. Because the reason I say that is because the dub is actually funnier than the sub. And personally, I would feel the same way about The Devil's Part-Timer, just because there are so many good quotes in this anime alone that make it absolutely delightful, and it's just a scream. The characters are just outstanding, and like I said, it challenges your preconceived notions of good and bad, which I think is very intriguing in and of itself. Is fascinating just to see how the characters develop over time, and you become empathetic and sympathetic toward them in their reasoning why they decide with Sadao or Satan. LCL is such a funny character. He plays off as a fall guy, and Lucifer later on, he is not treated very well, but you don't really feel bad for him. On Earth, he has to find they all have to find aliases, particularly Satan. And Amelia became one of my favorite characters. I love her. And I like Chi. She's your typical high school girl with a puppy dog crush. And she gives actually good reason as to why. And Sasahara is a very unique character. I'm not going to go too much into her character because if I do, it'll give away a huge plot point because she's very interesting and she undergoes a transformation. At first you think, I hate your motives and how dare you, and well, I understand why you're doing what you're doing and you have good reasoning. However, your morality concerning the situation, you might want to reconsider your priorities, and she does, but small spoiler. But as far as the series is concerned, a lot of things happened that I wasn't prepared for and did not see coming. There were things that were predictable because I've seen a lot of anime in my time. However, there were other elements within the story that took me completely off guard, which I like. And it's very funny. There's a lot of fast food parody. Well, with McDonald's, they do McRonald's, and Kentucky Fried Chicken. It's actually Kentucky Fried Chicken. I had to laugh at. They do it in other anime, so it's not uncommon for them to parodize what we have here in the States. But there are McDonald's. They have to be on the lookout for intellectual property and breaching copyright laws, which by themselves are a pain, believe me. Obscure language. Need I say more? But it's a very unique series. It's enjoyable. It rides the coattails of a harem anime. It's plays forth as a fantasy. There are a lot of things that can be enjoyed. Weaponry, which is what it'll generate out of the character's hands. The fight scenes are epic. It was just so cool. It was amazing. And just the action sequences are stupendous. The humor is very witty, and the dialogue is the best thing about it, other than the animation, which is beautiful. And the characters are very engaging and relatable. with Satan's ordeals is just, it's so funny. But I'll give it 4 out of 5 because, like I said, I've seen harem anime before, so I know what to expect. I think it is right underneath God Save the King because it's funny. God Save the King is one of my, it would be Ouran High School, duh, of course, my ultimate favorite, and then God Save Our King. Then Devil is a Part-Timer because it would fit within that kind of genre, and it has its own set of circumstances, but it kind of makes you wonder. It leaves it open for possible second season, which I forget. I think it was in Animerica. I don't know if it was that book or Otaku America. I can't recall because I used to get Otaku USA. I can't remember the name of that magazine. I'm making up one because I can't think of the real name. But I subscribed to it and I tried entering contests. I did, not through Otaku USA, but it was through Viz, and I got tickets to see the Eureka 7 movie, which was terrific. It was totally different from the original because it was an AU, but still, even as an AU, it was unbelievably enjoyable, and I loved every moment of it. And in the cinema, it was a better experience. And my dad had never seen a real anime film. Well, he had watched Pokemon, but this is hardcore anime stuff. So I had to explain some things that I told him, Dad, this is a completely different universe from the original. He said, okay, say no more. I'm lost. Just stop talking. I said, okay, I'm done. It was so funny. Those were our conversations where he would say, I remember, God, love my dad, but at least he was honest. If I said, I'm getting something, he's like, what's this? He said, anime. Say no more. That's self-explanatory. That's sufficient. But it's just really quite funny. He didn't get it. I guess it's just a nerd thing, I suppose. But Funimation did a really a splendiferous job on this, and just the way it's packaged is really beautiful. And as far as the series goes, definite 2 thumbs up, but 4 stars just because it's not perfect. There is a nice ending to it. It has some fan service. Even the so-called fluff episode isn't really fluff, which I liked. I thought, oh good, this isn't filler. This actually leads somewhere. And I like that. I don't enjoy, like with certain cartoons, I won't mention, one I really like right now. There are certain episodes that don't really amount to a heck of a lot. Code Lyoko did that, sadly. A little bit too much, which kind of irritated me. And I'm a big fan of French cartoons, don't get me wrong. Same thing with Canadian. But they have a tendency to do filler, and it's just, it doesn't add to a plot point. It doesn't really move the mechanism along, furthering our characters or allowing them to have some kind of moral lesson or encounter or some kind of pedantic scheme that was involved in actually writing the episode in and of itself. You think, what's the point of this? This is completely useless. Why did we have it? Did we do it because we wanted to make the fan community happy with certain ships that we wanted to sail? I don't know, but even in the fan service, well, it wasn't, not really overt. I thought this was tastefully done. I really liked it. Extremely enjoyable, delightful, plenty of action, even some romance. I really enjoyed it. It was just spectacularly done. A stellar series, astronomical. If you have the chance to pick it up, watch the dub, because honestly, I don't know how it compares with the sub, but I sincerely think that the dub is much funnier, just because it lends itself to more puns and more modern day speak, particularly with Suzuhara and Emilia. And oh my goodness, it's so witty. You think she's got a point, she's got you pegged there. And I won't go into the scene in of itself, but it's one of my favorites. And there are just so many good moments that you can quote. And I love Suzuhara. She's your typical, has lived in a bubble her entire life and has not seen the outside world. So everything she encounters is fascinating. And she's just so taken by everything that she sees that she's just filled with this kind of childlike wonder and awe. And just, she's just magnificent. You can't help but love her for that. Her innocence is very enjoyable and understandable coming from her origin. I can't say that much else about the series other than it's just outstanding, and it should be watched by all people. And I think that there is quite a bit to be said. You cannot judge a book by its cover here, and sometimes what is so-called evil might actually not be evil. And yeah, it's funny. Because it's funny that I should mention that. It's kind of odd and unusual, but I've actually encountered this in my life. And hopefully I'm a good role model, but I try to live by the straight and narrow. Lord knows I make mistakes, but we're only human, right? Well, anyway. A little bit of an update. I have some good news. I'm going to be getting a new computer, so I will be transferring everything I have on my laptop, which eventually I'm just going to sell the old laptop and give it to somebody who needs it. But I will be able to write my collaborations and animate. Because that's what I initially planned on doing with this channel, is animation entirely by myself. learning on my own merit, which I know is going to be a lot of work. But with that in mind, I'm not sure how much time I'm going to have to do it. But I'm sure I'll be okay. I know it'll take a good chunk of time out of my schedule due to the fact that I'm going to school. It'll take me 2 years to get my degree. So far I'm getting A's and B's, mostly B's. But it's about all I have to say. So until next time, live long, prosper. Ciao, Titi.